Comrades, let's talk about the little father today. It's almost impossible for Ireland to unite. The kingdom has not talked about its old friend England for a long time. Let's talk about them today. Tell the truth. The strength of the UK is getting worse day by day. Recently, in the Middle East, the in-homes Strait incident is even more revealing. Even Dong Zai started mocking Britain. Call your warships too old. The aircraft carrier is still having problems. The British Navy is completely better than in... Of course, British Prime Ministers also respond as soon as possible. Say we in the UK are not weak, but on Iran. Adhere to decision-making in accordance with national interests. Will not be drawn into conflict. But it's actually STAMO. Who knows? It's been so hard to go to the Red Sea to play lake games in 24 years. Going to the Strait of Hormuz again. Greater Iran is not alive. Following April 12th, British Health Secretary Streeting said in an interview that Trump is weird. Obviously, the UK has been helping the US, but he often targets the UK. Publish provocative and ridiculous remarks. I just know now. It turns out that there are not only strange words next to the word with heart. And Dong's it. Why are you breaking the unbreakable barrier between Britain and the United States? After learning of this, the angry Dong character also expressed directly on April 15th. That's not a breach of Anglo-American relations. This is called destroying the relationship between the United States and the United States. Trade agreement with the UK in 2024, including cuts to us to UK cars, some tariffs imposed on aluminum alloy steel and other issues. I may change the tax increase for you at any time. Because when America needed British help, they don't show up when we don't need them. The UK didn't show up either. Never showed up. You put this cost crocodile, Uncle Maimei, invisible, but Dong Zai said so, and the UK was also angry. Because it's not like we really didn't help you. Didn't the US military already use the base? You know, 65% of Brits don't like it. Into a US airstrike, 86% of Britons are concerned. China fighters could have an impact on energy prices. Impact? I'm under so much pressure to let you use the base. It's because I take you as a brother. It's not that there's some weird fart that likes to get your fart. Okay, you said I didn't help, right? I'll show you what it's like to be really unhelpful. In the early morning of April 26th, Raft. The Fairfoot base suddenly catches fire. The fire broke out in an industrial warehouse and produced thick smoke. Scared, the local fire department urgently told the public, close the windows and doors. When the firefighters arrive and start to control the fire, the roof has burned down. Fortunately, no one is online, but this fire can be very worrying for the United States. Because the Fairfoot base was built in 1944. It was built especially for the Normandy landings. Because this base is so easy to use. Has a 3 kilometers long bamboo track, Kelowna B-1B, 3 types of bombers, including B-2 and B-5-H, take off and land here. So, the US Air Force has been using it to this day. This is also America. The only bomber in the European Air Force. Forward deployment. Change area to take off. Could cut US airstrikes on Iran in half. Although the UK does not support US action against Iran. But, after all, are they all father and son buddies? I'm sorry I didn't do anything. So in early March, they announced, allow the US military to use the base in operations. Conduct defensive action. Result. Britain risks bombing you to use the base. You don't appreciate it in the United States and say you didn't help, right? The angry base is angry. I didn't accidentally set myself on fire. Now, even the United States is confused. The USS Ford was transferred to the Middle East before. As a result, the USS Ford laundry room caught fire. Rush to Greece for emergency repairs. Almost led to an exit line. Move after, the aircraft carrier USS Essex Howell to be mobilized. And the destroyer USS Everest also followed. Maybe it's to make a 3-aero buff. Us confidence? No. For guided missile destroyer, there was also a major fire. Now, the British bases that the US is using are all on. This is a designated point of view. You can find Yansan to calculate. Because of these fires, I understand as soon as I count them. Just stop the action against Iran. He will never, but okay. The fire at the British Air Force Base, more like a warning. Because the fire is contained in an abandoned warehouse. No casualties. Nor to the US military. Follow-up actions have a significant impact. The layup is in time this time. Who knows if he will find him again tomorrow. Burned the combat readiness supplies of the US military. Actually, the UK is righteous enough to let the US use the base. As for what to say about escorting and helping England, he really can't help. Because it's not necessarily the ocean that brings 3 points of water. It could also be a desert. Early in the war, in revenge on Britain, May, Iranian drones attacked the British base of Cyprus. And before that, Britain prepared and unprepared, directly confused. Why do you say that? Because, according to Starmer at the press conference afterwards, response said, UK as early as January and February. Area 1 deployment was initiated, especially in Cyprus and Qatar. Advanced fighter, air defense missile radar. The anti-drone system is all set up, knowing that there are tigers in the mountains. I've already tried the ticket office at MT Wisdom. Make sure you show your hands. It's fun for everyone to see. But then everyone found out Britain didn't just show its hands, but no clothes at all. A drone hit a part of the base. The remaining 2 in the hangar were stopped, but that was stopped by Cyprus. Nothing to do with the UK. Is late. Cyprus High Commissioner to UK scolds. UK. What the fuck are you doing? Oh my god, what are you doing? England, if you really can't protect our base, don't use it. Dig a hole and bury yourself, okay? Subsequently, the people of Cyprus also held demonstrations. Ask the Brits to get out. Cyprus is not your launch pad. You and he don't transfer Lang's contradictions to Lao Tzu. Actually, the UK is always pretending to be wily now, but I don't understand. It's just to give people a college question that they don't understand. But it looks like it's more than enough to do junior high school questions. In fact, he copied Steele for the kindergarten questions. Otherwise, how do you explain steps 2 months in advance? You can't even guard against a drone. Starmer, who was scolded for this, can only express Lao Tai. We are, and have been, as fast as possible. Do your best to defend. Just as you can't force Lee Rong-hao to keep his eyes open. We are really the fastest. To appease Cyprus, the British Defence Minister also visited the site. The British government also held 2 consecutive meetings, negotiate countermeasures. In the end, they decided it's time to use military force. So the British sent the destroyer Dragon. Go to Cyrus to help defend. Why send the Dragon? On the one hand, because he is strong enough, this is a ship capable of destroying. Knife missile capable warship. On the other hand, China only has 6 destroyers. Among them, the brave USS Duncan Guardian. The Diamond is under maintenance and cannot be dispatched. The Dreadnought has just returned to Hong Kong for renovations and can't move. So this destroyer is barely usable. Nothing but him. Why? Reluctantly. Because there are no weapons on the Dragon consumption. It has to be installed now. But that's not a problem. It is expected to be installed in a few minutes. 10,080 minutes later, the warship was equipped and officially set sail. Cyprus Temple. That's it. The warship creaked into April. And guess what? It's not that it's broken, it's that the warship is broken. At first, the British Ministry of Defence denied the relevant reports. It's all fake news. Fake news, but then the Long-Hao destroyer was photographed. To disappoint a safe port repair, the British military, who realised they couldn't hide it, can only quickly express, this stop is for supplementary supplies. Optimise the system and perform technical repairs. During the stop, the warship still maintains a very high state of combat readiness. If necessary, set sail immediately upon order. To put it simply, is it broken? I'm tired and take a break. On command. Afterwards, everyone found out that you still ordered. The British government has put plan to travel to Cyprus. Cancelled. Like I asked you, what the fuck? Why do you assemble guns so fast? As a result, you told me that you didn't dismantle it. LBC radio host Nick Ferrari just asked the British Defence Secretary Sharp during the interview. Our dignified British Empire started with the Navy. Now the Long-Hao destroyer is broken. Why can't you send warships? Continue the mission. How many ships do we have? Did he ask this directly? That we have... There is that 17 frigates and destroyers. Then Ferrari asked him if there are really 17 warships forming a fleet. Where are they? Where to know where the Royal Navy belongs to the King's warship. So you mean there is, but you can't see it? Yeah, no. I mean, military equipment of each country. Some are using, some deploying. Some are on combat readiness. Some are being repaired and maintained. Do you understand? Are all our British warships being repaired and maintained? It doesn't matter. The important thing is that although Long-Hao cannot perform the task, but we can ask the Germans for help. Have them provide a warship to protect Cyprus instead of us. You know, we and Germany have historically. It's a fraternal country with warm exchanges. They will come forward. You heard right. Dignified British Empire. Now it has been reduced to disarming warships to Germany. This fucking Hitler can wake up laughing from a dream. Then Ferrari asked the minister, but you don't think, is it embarrassing for us to borrow warships from Germany? But Sharp says it's embarrassing. This is a sign of the unity and strength of the North Vietnamese alliance. It looks like we are united. As far as the current situation in the UK is concerned, you say he's smart. He even owns several warships. I don't know how many catties or tails. You call him stupid. He also knew how to go to the German border, but the UK has no warships to go to the German border. So where do we look for a sore neck? Of course, looking for the Temple World. Koreans are filial to their parents and send them to We Chinese people are filial to our parents and send them to the Temple World. It's Mother's Day soon. Celsi pushes everyone. Mom used the agreed knee mast. Warm up every day and press. Mum used a fascinated hot compress. The area is big enough to pick. Bring your knees. All are drawn by warm packs, silver ions, and temperature-locked fabrics. Forced the cold to flee. The little pockets on the side are also great. Stuffed with Moxa velvet thread bag. Physiotherapy comparable to a lady. Cooling down and raining doesn't hurt anymore. Mum praises the Temple World for being good. High frequency kneading and beating. The method is even higher. Simply a massage master. Lived in 3 small nest acupuncture points. As soon as you pass key and blood, you will be free. Shoulders, knees, arms, he's all inclusive. My mum took him home. Business every day. The joints are relaxed. Don't look old when you're old. Don't take the postgraduate entrance examination. 3. Tell the truth. Now people sit for a long time and stand around. Really bad for the knee. The elderly are getting older. Joint wear and tear can't escape. Maintenance should be done as soon as possible. The big screen shows the mother at a glance. The voice prompt is clear as soon as you hear it. Warm knees are warmer than mother's heart. Get 3 exclusive coupons in the comment area. Mother's Day guaranteed cheap. Quality assurance is also appropriate. Gifts for your own use are good. I also wish mothers all over the world happy holidays. Great body. Okay, let's get back to the point. The things I just said undoubtedly exposed a problem. The decline of England, especially the military decline, is very serious. So much so that there is now a stalk. That is to say, the British Navy has fewer warships than generals. But, in fact, it is a bit contemptuous to say that. What do you mean there are more generals in the Navy than warships? There are more generals in the army than tanks. such as the famous British Challenger, 2 main battle tanks. As of 2017, there are only 200 left. Only 50 of them are on combat readiness. Where did the remaining 150 go? The military thinks maintenance costs money. Exercises are worn out and cost money. So in order to save money, it was simply sealed as a material. So much so that in 2017, the North Vietnamese army demonstrated the British mobilized a full tank regiment. You think the British Empire still has the confidence, but in fact, the national tanks came out of the Qing dynasty. It's not confidence, it is the family background that contrasts sharply with it. The British army has 230 generals. So much so that after the Labour Party came to power, old Mo really can't stand the embarrassment of the British army. Great. So order to buy more weapons and equipment. There are not enough round beads in Ukraine. And in that year, the British military also ordered increase the inventory of main battle tanks to 288, an increase of 31%. The British military even called it the return of heavy armour capabilities. Is the British Empire coming back? In fact, the British military here has overshadowed Lauma. On the surface, the number of equipment has indeed increased, but actually, it's the military that puts those incapable of combat. Prepare. Feel free to be ashamed, and pull out the barrier again. You have seen more, but that's what actually works. According to media statistics, British Army, within 72 hours, the number of tanks that can be deployed for combat is only 180-200. Still, not as many generals. In addition, the UK is still rendering a plan for the past 2 years. It's Challenger 3. I thought England was divided. Are you going to build a 4th generation tank? But then they said, this 4th generation Tanfir is better than the 4th generation Tanfir. Wait, it's not a 4th generation tank in the Russian sense. Nor is it a 4th generation tank in the German sense. We're going to build on this foundation of Challenger 2. Improve. Do you think Britain is being modest and engaging in strategic deception? No, they are really improved. Subsequently, the British announced the attack on 148 Challenger 2 tanks. Plan for technical improvement. But since the UK really has no industry to speak of, so they live. Outreach to Rheinmetall in Germany. Challenger 3 will be equipped with the German L55A1 Watang gun, Israel's Booty active protection system, America's digital hub, and more. It's the head of hundreds. So, since it is an improvement, why not call it Challenger 2 improved? It's called Challenger 3, because it sounds good. Looks like the UK has a 4th generation tank. The first tanks were originally scheduled to be delivered in 2027. All renovations will be completed in 2030. But because of this and that, it has been postponed. Specific postponement. How long? We can only see the follow-up. Okay, this video will not end for now. Let's go on. Because of the tensions caused by the Russian conflict in the past 2 years, after the Labour Party came to power, it also released a conscription offensive. Count to 2029. Raise the standing army to 76,000. Defend Britain. To accomplish the goal, so much so that the British Army came up with Call of Duty. Improve the combat readiness of soldiers. Call on players to enlist. What's the point of shooting online? If a real man comes, he will come offline. And after a year of their tossing, the effect is sudden 2025. Total additions to the British Armed Forces. More than 240 people. Attention here refers to the total number of new additions to the armed forces. More than 240 soldiers were recruited by the Army and Air Force, rather than the Army. Of course, that's not a problem. Because of the current strength of the British Army, it has reached 74,270 people, 11,900 officers in the county, gouging up soldiers who have not systematically participated in training. Wait for British soldiers who can go straight to the battlefield. There are more than 58,400 people. How would you describe this force? You know, during the Somme nuclear battle of World War I, British casualties on the first day alone were as high as 60,000. Up to now, it belongs to the Imperial soldiers of the First World War. Even in 1803, when the British Army was at its weakest, on the eve of the Napoleonic Wars, the British Standing Army has 67,000 men, involved in the forward push of the Afghan War. Colonel Richard Nyonpu even commented on this. You said the Ministry of Defence. How many ministers has the Ministry of Defence changed one by one? Have you changed it? Change the soup without changing the medicine. Xiao Yigu also has reason to say, what team am I leading? I used to lead a construction team. Who are you? From the UK? Compare me. What is the current level of the British military? Just a few people. Your warship is leaking, and you have to go to the Mediterranean. Can he go? Can't go, don't have that ability. You know what? The size of the British Army, too small to protect the UK. The truth makes me say something bad. The British Army is actually compared to the Navy and Air Force. Already the most improved one, because the number of recruits in the Army has only decreased by 15%, and the Air Force decreased by 17%. The Navy is down 22%. The smallest step back is not the greatest progress. Say something more abstract. In the British Navy, although there are 119 generals and 260 captains, but you put the submarine, patrol boat, all naval power counts. Only in the absence of faults, maintenance, etc. Less than half of them can show up. This means that out of 260 captains, less than 1 in 10 people work. The rest is just messing around. As for the 119 admirals, it's okay if you eat the natural fruit. But if you think about it carefully, you will find Britain hasn't been at war for years. Are these fucking civilian generals? The key is that the British do things differently. Most of the usable warships are sold when they are retired. For example, the famous Athletic God aircraft carrier, the power of Britain to clear the country, the great hero who won the Falklands War. As a result, after retirement, the backhand was sold to India by in fact, fact, the UK has been saving money over the years, has been actively even in 2021, before 2022. The British government also issued a defence comprehensive assessment report, intended to be, in the next 10 years, reduce the army to 72,500, because the British believed that the traditional military theory, it doesn't matter what planes, tanks and cannons, now, in terms of national defence and security, invest in cyberspace, artificial intelligence, emerging military technologies such as drones, is the key and bottom line of Britain's participation in world affairs. Colour over the decades, the UK has always adhered to this military idea. Download 1 year later, in 2022, Putin and Ozawa successfully gave the UK people learned a lesson. Aircraft, artillery, tanks are still used. At this point, even the British themselves realised it was over. Artificial intelligence, emerging technologies such as drones have not developed. Aircraft carrier aircraft tanks can still be dismantled and sold. This NEMA retreat is neither advance nor advance. One tendon is blocked at two ends. And even more puzzling, obviously, the size of the British armed forces is not large, but military spending is surprisingly high. According to data from the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, military spending through 2024 is $89.80 billion. 25 years down a bit is $88.90 billion. 2.4% of GDP. Key, the total number of British troops combined is only 140,000. There are no warships and tanks to maintain. Completely the establishment of the British Empire. Small size, I guess even the British themselves. They all want the British Army to be corrupt. And extremely corrupt. Why is that? Because if it wasn't corrupt, it would be done like this. That's not alive. The barbarism of incorporeal backward culture, the bad roots of the race, in stark contrast to Russia. Although Great Russia, the military budget in 2025 will also reach more than $190 billion US, more than twice that of the UK, but the army is more than 10 times that of the UK. This is still temporary, taking into account the rotation of frontline troops, weapon maintenance, but consumes soldier pensions, etc. In this case, one less, you can pull another bowl of rice out of your teeth. To rebuild. It is not an exaggeration to say that Li Hongjiang of Russia. So where did the British Army mainly spend its money? People on a budget of nearly $90 billion. 30% of it goes to military salaries and pensions. But the pre-tax salary of an ordinary soldier in the UK, just over £26,000 a year. So where did the money go? Of course, it was on the heads of the officers. So much so that the British government itself can't hold back. On April 14, they asked the top brass of the British military. This year must be done by improving efficiency. Save £3.50 billion. Isn't that just ordering them? There are too many of you. Spend too much money. The current budget is not even enough. Completed the Keating plan. I don't care if you use downsizing or some other way. Gotta save me $3.50 billion anyway. In fact, the UK is mixed like this. Too dependent on the United States. Been counting on all these years. NATO military protection to live. Anyway, something happened to Mr. Moran. I am in the back. Climb chicken feathers. As a result, Dongzai was dumbfounded after he was born. It turns out that accepting the protection of the US military is to give money. I rely on the fact that the United States can still increase tariffs on the United Kingdom. It turns out that the United States can still threaten NATO by force. Why hasn't this happened before? The Office for National Statistics said, since Dongzai introduced the new tariff policy last year, exclude precious metals, Britain's most beautiful export has plummeted 25%, and the main Scotch whisky, amount and quantity of exports to the United States, dropped to 4% and 9.2% respectively. There are also extremely important car exports. It hasn't recovered yet, level before tariffs. And because of British goods to the United States, exports fall and imports rise. Since December 2025, in the field of commodity trade, UK versus US has been in trade for 3 consecutive months. Reverse investigation status. Now it's Britain's turn to buy America's blood. And that's just economic. The political impact is more serious. In revenge on Britain, the US Department of Defense actually mentioned in the email, intend to re-examine American agate in Argentina, sovereignty over Britain, real position. The implication is that Argentina wants to take back the Falklands. America may not help Britain this time. This is killing the British government. Our brothers have been working together for decades. What about this 36-degree mouth? Can you say such cold words? Even more deadly, April 24th, after the email was made public, Argentine Foreign Minister Gurno reiterated Argentine sovereignty over the Falklands. It's not that you to connect well, right? Do you want to piss me off? Considering the current military strength of the UK, there is still a gap with the United States. Not enough to fight, so Britain also has to try to ease tensions with the US. For this, they used the last trump card, the King of the United States. April 27th, 2026, King Charles of England. With him going to the President of the United States, Trump's precious gift, visited the United States in person. For the visit of King Charles, the hospitality in the United States is also very rigorous and warm. Early in Washington, D.C. flies us and Australian flags. You ask, why the Australian flag? Because it's wrong. In the end, the White House quickly ordered the removal, changed to Union Jack. But it's a small problem. The welcome ceremony is still full. On the south lawn of the White House, lacrosse, several queues, nearly 500 troops from the 6 major arms, people participate in the review, and salute with 21 boxes of guns. The specifications of the state banquet also match the top. Dressed in formal white-collar street dresses, instead of running a formal flying collar street, the last time the White House entertained the British on this scale. Did you entertain Charles' mother 19 years ago? America is so enthusiastic. Charles also excitedly took out the gift he wanted to give. A clock. So why is he sending a bell to Trump? Because this clock has a different meaning. This is one from the Olympic station period. British submarine bell. The submarine's name is HMS Trump. What is this? Is this I brought it to you specially from England, and that's just one of them. The second is that don't you always complain that the UK is not here to help? That's good. I'll give you a clock. Shake him twice when you need England. This is a double article. One of the original things is to call, why don't you say he's a king? EQ, IQ, double high. Even if it's a gift, a clock can do it to please the United States without offending China. Subsequently, he also sent Dongzai a table design. This is not your average picture. It's in the White House spitting love office. That drawing of the resolute desk, you can only use a White House presidential desk for 4 years. But take this drawing, go home and hit a table of the same style. Can last a lifetime. Does this count as implying that Dongzai will be president for life? Anyway, Charles is beautiful this time. I really made Dongzai happy. As for his direct announcement as a tribute to King X will be cancelled for Sucre whiskey. All tariffs. As for security and sovereignty issues, the US Department of Defense will also withdraw us punitive measures against Britain in the Argentine Falklands. Falklands was won by our brothers together. I have to help Britain defend its sovereignty. As soon as this news comes out, the British side breathed a sigh of relief, because Argentina wants to retake the Falklands. No us support UK. It's not a problem that he can't beat. Can't hit him. He's out of boat. But with the support of the United States, I am not afraid. Of course, that's still the case. But the biggest characteristic of Dongzi is that what he said today may be voided tomorrow. Who knows if he'll come up with a new reason. What about threatening the UK? And the UK is sulking about it. Seems to have fallen to the point where there is no other way to resist. Of course, we can only see the follow-up. What if people are really reconciled forever? Okay, that's the end of this video. If you like it, please